Hi, welcome to today's Yin practice. For today, you are going to want all the props. So a bolster or a pillow from your bed works just fine. A blanket, 2 blocks, or a shoebox, thick, sturdy book will also work just great. And a strap. If you don't have a traditional yoga strap, you can always use a scarf works really well, a towel or a blanket, really anything that's just gonna give you a little length. And of course, you can always make do without these props as well. So we're gonna get started in an easy seat. I'm gonna take the bolster here under my sit bones, lifting my hips just a bit. Give yourself time here as you settle in. You know, with our Yin practices, we spend a little extra time in these shapes. So allow yourself to adjust. Eyes can soften or close. Take a moment here to notice your alignment. Heart stacks over your hips, head over your heart. And allow yourself a few rounds of breath, just at your normal pace, your normal rhythm. Breathe here. When you feel ready to add in some movement, start to pull your shoulders up towards your ears and then slide them down your back. Again, working at your pace. You might notice a few spots that feel a little clunky or sticky. Just breathing into them. If it feels good, you can switch directions. Rolling the shoulders forward a bit. And whenever that feels complete for you, pause with your shoulders away from the ears, long sides of the neck. On an inhale, turn so you're facing towards the left, looking over that left shoulder just as far as feels good in your neck. Next breath, you can come back to center, and other side, look over towards the right. Come back to center. Working here with these slow shaking of the head no's. That is not the technical yoga term, but that's what we're doing here. Pause anywhere that feels like it needs a little extra time, extra love. Give yourself a full round of breath there. Next breath, when you come back to neutral, pause there. Inhale, look down towards your lap, stretching out the back of the neck. Next breath, lift your gaze up towards the ceiling, opening up the front of the neck. Switching into these really slow nods of the head, yes. Again, take your time here. Pause anywhere that feels like it needs a little extra love or it feels extra nice to stay there. When you're ready, bring your neck back to neutral. Right shoulder towards right ear. I should say right ear drops towards right shoulder. Left hand can stay in your lap or reach it towards the floor. Just a bit more of a neck stretch there. Give yourself a few rounds of breath on this side, finding the chin placement that feels good for you. Wait for your next inhale. Use that to drop your gaze back down towards your lap, and then left ear to left shoulder. Pause there. Again, you might adjust your chin, noticing those different sensations. Maybe your right fingertips reach towards the floor. Give yourself a few rounds of breath. Next inhale, look back towards your lap. And then lift your gaze back to neutral, returning to center. Eyes can softly flutter open, shifting that bolster out from under you. We'll work around Teton for a few poses here. Making your way to a tabletop. You might want your block, one of your blocks within reaching distance. You may also want a strap within reaching distance. And we're setting up for shoelace here, or cow face. So from your tabletop, extend your left leg long, and then left knee stacks outside of right knee. So your legs are crossed here in a tabletop. This is where I bring that block between my heels at its lowest setting and slowly begin to sink your hips back, finding a seated position here. So knees are stacked. The block here gives me a little more ability to access this shape. If it still doesn't feel great, your left leg can extend long, so you're in a half shoelace. Now give yourself a few rounds of breath here first. Just noticing where you feel that sensation. Allowing your body to find some stillness. And of course, if you'd like to stay right here, you are more than welcome to. But I'll also show us cow face or shoelace arms. So taking that strap with you, hold your strap in your right hand down the back of your neck. Sorry, buddy. And then left hand works its way up the strap. Maybe your fingertips can touch here, clasping. But remember, we're holding this shape for a little longer, so you might give yourself a little extra space. A little wiggle room. Noticing if you can open the chest a bit more, pulling those elbows back ever so slightly. Once you find your version of the pose, settle into stillness. Give yourself another round of breath here. Can release any grip you have. Fingertips reach towards the floor for a moment. And then shifting out of the shape the same way we got in. I'm in kind of tight quarters, so I'll look a little different. But press your knees to the mat in front of you. Coming to that twisted tabletop for a moment. Then unwind your legs, other side. Right leg extends long behind you. Then right knee crosses to the outside of left. Taking that block between your heels at whatever height feels good. Settle in for your version of shoelace or cow face pose. Again, adjusting as you need to. Straightening that right leg this time if having your knees stacked just simply doesn't feel good or isn't available in your body. Give yourself a few rounds of breath here, focusing solely on the low body. How does it feel? Where do I need to adjust? If you'd like to add in those arms, taking your strap or whatever you're using with you. This time, left hand holds the strap down the back, and then right hand reaches towards your other hand. Opening the shoulders as much works for you. In a lot of bodies, this side will likely feel a little tighter than the other side. So just noticing, allowing yourself to adjust however you need to. You have a few rounds of breath here. One more round of breath. When you're ready, release, undoing that grip of the arms here first, then shifting yourself forward, so knees plant, coming to that twisted tabletop, unwinding when you're ready. Might shift the hips here side to side just a bit. And preparing for our melting heart pose, this is a lovely spot to start. I take my blanket here, giving a little cushion under my knees because we are going to hold this shape for a bit longer. So I fold it into a nice little square. I'm going to try to move my dog out of the way. We'll see how this goes. But starting from that tabletop base, set one of your blocks about a foot and a half in front of you at a height that feels good. You might have to slide a little bit, buddy. Right here. And then like you're coming into child's pose, start to walk your hands forward, slowly lowering your forehead maybe to the block. Or you can shift your knees back a bit more. Elbows can come to the block, or hands can rest right there. Goal here is your heart is melting towards the floor. Hips are staying above the knees as much as works for you. Allow yourself to adjust, move animals as needed, and then settle into the shape. A couple more rounds of breath in this shape. From wherever you are, begin to gently press your upper body out of the shape, returning to that tabletop base, maybe some hip shifts here, cat-cows if that feels good. Then making some space here, we're gonna come to lie on our belly in crocodile pose. For this, you may want a blanket, but you can likely do this without the props. Lowering down to your belly, create a little pillow here with your hands, And then rest your forehead right on the back of your hands. Now, if in some bodies it doesn't feel good for your forehead to rest here, you can always turn so there's just one cheek lying on the mat. Taking note of whichever side you choose for this round. And when we come back to this shape for our next round, switching sides. One more breath. Then taking the yin version of thread the needle, lift your forehead just a bit. Extend your left arm long in front of you. You may want a pillow under your forehead here. Just try it out. Right hand comes under that left armpit. And then forehead rests back on the mat. So we're opening up that right shoulder, crossing it in front of our body. Again, if your forehead can't meet the mat, you can always bring a blanket, pillow, or dog in front of you to lift it just a bit. And settle in here. Another round of breath here. Then lift your upper body out of the shape. Maybe pausing for a moment in a sphinx, just opening your heart here for a bit. We'll shift to the other side. Right arm extends long in front of you. Left arm comes under that right armpit. Maybe your forehead rests on the mat, or a blanket, or a bolster. Settle in on this side. Next breath, begin to lift yourself out of this shape. Bringing yourself to Sphinx for just a moment, opening the chest. And then return to that crocodile shape, creating a little pillow here, resting your forehead on the back of your hands. Now again, if you chose to put one cheek on the mat in the first round, switching cheeks here for the second round. Breathe here. Next breath, lift your upper body out of the shape. And then preparing for starfish, or you may have heard this called a few different names, your left hand is going to come out to a T or a cactus shape. Right hand plants to the mat. Then rolling so your left side's on the mat, right foot comes to step behind you. Now, if it feels like the floor is too far away, you can always bring a block here under your foot, softening into the shape. We won't be here for quite as long as our other yin shapes, but if this doesn't feel great in your shoulder, you might take a little gentler version, finding a seated position, left hand comes to the wall, and you slowly turn away, opening that shoulder in this version. Whatever works for you. No right or wrong. Handful of breaths left on this side. Inhale, come back to center. Find the shape on the other side. Right arm extends, left hand plants. Then rolling to your right side of the body, that left foot can find the mat. Breathe here. Eyes soft or closed, or taking the shape from a seated position. Next breath, unwind back to center and press yourself up to a seat. Taking care here, you'll likely want all of the blocks within reaching distance. Setting up for our final shape before Shavasana. Take one of your blocks, starting at probably its medium, maybe its highest setting towards the back of the mat. Then your second block is about 6 inches in front of it at a setting that's lower. Take your bolster, creating a little ramp here. And then you'll want your blanket within reaching distance, just for a little coziness, covering your low body here. Hips come right up to the edge of that bolster, and test it out here. Lay back, arms open, palms face up towards the ceiling. If that feels good for opening the chest, you can begin to adjust your low body. If you need to adjust the height or the placement of the blocks, do that here first. We're holding this as more of a restorative shape, so we'll be here for a decent amount of time. Make sure you're comfortable. Now in your low body, you can keep soles of the feet to the mat, knees towards the sky if that feels good. You can extend your legs long in front of you if that feels good. Or bring the soles of the feet together, knees open to either side. Again, notice what version feels best in your body. Explore the different shapes. And then settle in when stillness feels right for you. We're at about the midway point with this shape. Now, if this feels good to close out the rest of your practice, you can stay right here. This is absolutely wonderful. If you'd like to transition into a shavasana, be mindful and slow as you lift your upper body out of this shape. Remove any props from underneath you. And then lay back down on the mat in your final resting shape. Supporting yourself with any props that you need. Maybe that blanket covers your whole body or the bolster comes under your knees. Wherever you choose to be, use your next few rounds of breath to soften into the shape a little bit more. I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Start to bring awareness back to your breath. Now, if you feel good and would like to stay in either of these shapes, you are more than welcome to. If it's time to close out your practice, you might start with whatever gentle movement feels right to wake up your body. You can wiggle fingers and toes or open and close the mouth. Taking your time, transition out of either shape. In Shavasana, maybe rolling to a fetal position on either side. If you're in that supported bridge, gently pressing into the mat, lifting your upper body to a seated position. Getting there whenever it feels right for you. Eyes can stay soft or closed, giving yourself a few moments here. Feeling into some gratitude for making the time for yourself today. We'll close with a collective breath. Hands can rest on your lap or layer one over the other on top of your heart, whichever feels better for you. Inhale through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. Thank you for being part of this rad community, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.